What is the mystery of 8? How's everyone doing today? Welcome to my channel. My name is Thomas, and I do videos on many different kinds of educational topics. For right now, we're kind of in the middle of a unit on the Tree of Life. Tree of Life is a map of our faculties of consciousness. It's a diagram that kind of gives you a map of the different states of consciousness that we may find ourselves in and kind of what to do about it. It's a great tool because it's integrative. It's something that you can, it's really content free or almost content free. You can apply your own experiences to the tree and make sense of them. So we use it here as a fundamental tool. Once you get the tree, then all the other subjects that I'll be covering later on will become more easily assimilable. Okay, so the Tree of Life looks like this. You know, the colors are optional, I would say. You know, not crucial. Important, but not crucial. And what you see here is you see 10 different circles. Number 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. There is a thing here called the abyss, which is an implied circle or sphere. And then there is a 0 above the tree. And that makes a total of 12 different categories or faculties. And then we also have 22 lines that are connecting the various 10 spheres. And that is kind of more of a part of maybe the Hebrew Kabbalah, which the Hebrew Kabbalah is the same diagram, but it's just a different interpretation. The Tree of Life is the ancient Egyptian version, which preceded the Kabbalah. Okay, now to break down what each one of these spheres is about, 10th sphere is about our survival, our animal consciousness, wild animal consciousness, the law of the jungle, survival of the fittest, our survival instinct, our sense of instinct, fight or flight response, and all those things kind of going together, as well as our body's ability to keep us alive involuntarily. Like we don't have to say, oh boy, I better digest that food that I just ate, or I better make sure my heart keeps beating at the right pace, or you know, we don't have to you know, make a decision about how our bodily health is going. Now we can develop that later on, but for now our body takes care of us. And this is where we're at when we're just being born, and then this is also where we're going to go anytime our life is threatened, our survival is threatened. Okay, then we go to the ninth sphere. The ninth sphere is what we pick up in the first years of our lives. When we're growing up in the home, we are a sponge. We are soaking up everything from our environment. We're just wrapped in attention and, you know, we're just wondrous about everything. And so we watch what our caregivers do and other people that are in our home environment, and we imitate them. And then we practice what they do, and then we memorize it. So that's how we pick up things from our environment, is we observe it with heightened attention, or what you call mediumistic trance. And then we imitate it and practice it, and then eventually memorize it. Problem is that the ninth sphere is blind, so it doesn't matter whether it's good or bad or good or evil. We're still going to copy it. So, you know, that's how we end up picking up a lot of bad habits from our environment, like including abusive habits. Okay, then we go to the A-sphere, which is also blind, but it is where the ninth sphere has to do with the domestic consciousness in the home. The A-sphere is about the public consciousness, or what you call the consensus worldview. This is where the establishment is located, all the institutions, all the resources. This is the expert opinion. These are the people in the white lab coats, the people with the initials behind their name that call themselves experts, that tell you what you're supposed to believe about everything. And in some cases even tell you that you don't have the capability of understanding this. So you have to take our word for it. And so this is where, you know, the paradigms are established. And the A-sphere faculties are our belief systems and also our logical faculty. But then we end up getting into a negative eighth sphere state with all the fallacies of logical thinking, such as circular reasoning and especially rationalization. Rationalization is providing excuses to justify the status quo. And so the status quo is here. You know, the A-sphere, they tell you how things are, and they try to maintain the status quo as is. But if the status quo is in contradiction to your own experience, a lot of times people will reject their own experience in favor of the kind of the hearsay of the status quo. They told me that it's like this. I've observed it being like this, but I'll believe them over my own experience, because the A-sphere presents this consensus where it's like, oh, everybody knows that. Everybody believes that. Oh, you know, this is what everybody knows, and what you're thinking is you're a crackpot, or, you know, you're deluded. And so there's a great deal of peer pressure also to conform to this A-sphere. So this is all part of the A-sphere: conformity, consensus, belief systems, rational faculties, and they all fit in here on the A-sphere. The rationalization is like a negative A-sphere, where we're kind of like being used by our rational faculties. Okay, then now for people who get into the A-sphere and recognize the A-sphere is a trickster. The A-sphere doesn't necessarily tell you the truth. It tells you what it wants you to believe. And sometimes people do, instead of rationalizing the A-sphere, they say, hey, you know what? My own experience tells me otherwise. I don't believe you. And for those people, they move over to the seventh sphere, where the A-sphere is about the real world. The seventh sphere is about the imaginary world. So they move over here and they imagine something better than what's going on here. Oh, this is a pack of lies. You know, I imagine a way of, you know, doing this that would be more in harmony with the truth. So the seventh sphere, the imagination is a major part of the seventh sphere, along with other factors that can help you here are our inspiration, being able to see other people, see and admire other people who've done the same thing and strive to do similar. Our intuition, which is basically, you know, wondering, being very curious about things and going inside to get the answers inside of us, to that, you know, you call it gut feeling, or in your gut. And then also creativity, our creative spark, and our pleasure principle, being able to put things together in pleasing arrangements. And so all of these different things go into the creative product that you come up with here at the seventh sphere in order to provide an alternative to the eighth. So this could be art, a painting, or a song, or prose, a story, screenplay, or could be an invention, could be some other kind of intellectual property that attempts to provide alternatives to the eighth sphere. Now, as we move further up the tree, we get to the sixth sphere, which is the center of the tree, and you can see that it's really connected with everything. And the sixth sphere is our free will faculty, which boils down to our ability to pay attention and our ability to make decisions. And so what we find, though, is that our attention has been kind of captured. It's been captured by this little matrix here, 8, 9, and 10, and 7 to a lesser extent, where we are paying attention to our ninth sphere or our eighth sphere or our 10th sphere. These are the areas that we're accustomed to, that we're comfortable with because we grew up with them. We picked these things up early in our lives. And so a lot of time our attention is directed down to the bottom of the tree like that. But our other aspect of free will is our ability to make decisions. And so we can choose to avert our attention from this lower part of the tree and turn our attention around and face it toward the top part of the tree. And by doing that, that's really our first major step in, a big spiritual growth. Now, what's going to happen here is we're going to have a great deal of fear because instead of being able to, pay attention to our comfort zone, areas we're accustomed to, we have to turn around and face into an area that is largely unknown, our higher aspects. But if we can overcome that fear and then place our attention on, the pathway from the sixth to the fifth sphere, then we can start to make some progress, because the fifth sphere is about our sense of justice, otherwise known as karma. Karma is based upon violence, waste, and violation. And so, and it works just like a mirror. As you sow, so shall you reap. And for every action, there's an equal and opposite reaction. What comes around goes around. So what we're doing here is we're acting, and then we get feedback on our action. And if we pay attention to that connection and that action and reaction, we can learn from our karma. When we get not optimal results, reactions, we can say, the reason why I got a bad reaction is because of faulty input. I did wasteful or unjust action, and I got an unjust action back. And so if I can clean up my behavior and not be so unjust, not be so much so wasteful, so violative, or violent, then my karma will get better. I will eliminate my karma. And so that is how we can actually use karma, which people might think of as just punishment, but use it as a tool for understanding the world better and improving our relationship with it. The fourth sphere is similar in that the fifth sphere is about the enforcement of the natural law, the natural order of things, how things really work. The fourth sphere is about the articulation of that natural law through cosmologies or holy books or theories of everything, different media that purport to tell us how everything works, how everything fits together, all all the eternal questions that we have about life. And this is based on people over the course of millennia making observations about things, observations, experiments, experiences, measurements, investigations. So it's based on like real, our real impressions about things, as opposed to the A-sphere law, which is about commandments, codes, and really fiat. You know, they just decide what the law is and then they tell you. But here, the law is not based on somebody's whim, but it's based on how things actually are put together. Okay, so then when we go to, and this is also the universals, the universal law, universal love, and universal language. Universal love is like being able to love our enemies and to give seeking nothing in return. And the universal language is really a language that's innate, that everybody has it regardless of whether they've been schooled in it or not, such as like telepathy, body language, certain kinds of musical expression. Okay, then we have the abyss, which is our psychic powers. This is a magnetic faculty. The omen is the magnetic charge, and the omen is like a synchronicity or a coincidence, and it is something that should register in our mind. That's our psychic receptivity, to be able to register all of these anomalies or uncanninesses, deja vus, just things that are highly coincidental in our life, to recognize those things, and then to be able to discern the path, the path of action, and then to be able to take that action. So that action is the psychic heat. So the abyss boils down to psychic receptivity and psychic heat. Okay, then 3, 2, and 1 are above the tree. They have to do with they're at the top of the tree. They have to do with our divine faculties within us. So this is omnipotence, all powerful, omniscience, all knowing, and omnipresence, all present, all at once, eternally. We tap into this, and this has to do with our universal mission, our secret mission in life, which we first start to develop here. And this is kind of like the culmination of it. And this has to do with being able to tune in to the sacred rhythms and the sacred syllables of the mantra. So it has to do with sound synchronization. We have here is omniscience, all knowing, or wisdom. It's our ability to solve problems. And we tap into this through being able to quiet down the mind, and to stay off the mind, stay off the content of the mind, you know, all the opinions and the likes and the dislikes, and just observe our experience and notice it, but not comment on it and not be invested in it in any way. That enables us to calm our mind to the point that our mind becomes transparent and we can see all the way through to the center. What we see, the image that we see, is wisdom, and that image is also the first sphere, omnipresence, all present. And so here we're able to see that image of the all present. Here we're actually able to be that image. And once we actually sink to the center of our mind, we are able to notice the unity of the universe, because at our deepest center, our higher self, at our deepest center, is a singularity, and it's the same as the center of everybody else. So everybody else has the same center, or the same essence, and this is a unifying factor, because we're all the same. Okay, then the 0 above the tree is our mystery and the nothingness of the world. And the zero, in fact, is not part of the universe. It's outside the universe, but it's still part of the creator. So the creator has an aspect that is not in the universe, and that's the zero. And so we're only able to contact it indirectly. Now that's the beginner version of the tree of life. To get to a slightly more advanced version, what you end up doing is you fractalize the tree, or you go to the next level. You take the whole tree and you boil it down and you apply it to the 10th sphere. And then you apply it to the 9th sphere, and so on. So you break down the 10th sphere into its 12 faculties. You break down the 9th sphere into its 12 faculties, and so on. So you end up with a total of 144 different mini faculties, or fractal faculties, which I refer to as the stages of life, stages of consciousness, history, and spirituality. But those stages aren't necessarily chronological stages, but they are dramatic stages. So at each different stage, we're challenged to by a different drama, by a different scenario that we have to negotiate. And that's what kind of the last part of each video is about. I'll be presenting one of those 144 in each video. If you'd like to get a list of the whole, all 144, all you have to do is just click the link in the description, and I'll send that to you for free. It's called the Guide to the 144 Fractal Faculties. And it'll help you be able to kind of negotiate and understand better the videos that I'm doing here. But for now, we're looking at stage number 142 of 144. So we're up toward the top, and we are in fact in the zero sphere. So this number 142 is having to do with the zero sphere, mystery, the nothingness, inner peace, and then we're in the 8th fractal of the zero sphere. So the eighth sphere is about the trickster, is about separating things out into their categories, and it's about the institutions and the consensus worldview, the paradigms, the expert opinion. So these are all, this is the mini part of the zero sphere. So, those two qualities combined make up the zero sphere. So number 142 make up this number 142. What is the mystery of 8? Slow down. Number 142, 8 balls, 8 cubes, 8 jhanas. Completion, the first cube. Stage number 142 is about how 7 gives us the notes, the spectrum, but 8 gives us closure, the end of the cycle, the end of the spiral. 8 completes the octave, coming back to 0 degrees, but at a higher level, higher octave. The jhanas are the notes or the octave of consciousness. Ask the magic 8 ball anything. There is an 8 ball, 8 vertex star tetrahedron that stabilizes the cube. A cube has 8 corners and is 2 by 2 by 2. 8 cubes fitting into 8 balls, which is like a square peg into a round hole to a higher power. The 8 concentration jhanas, or trances, or states of consciousness, as we move further into meditation, into concentration meditation. The first half have form, and the second half are formless. These jhanas, these 8 jhanas, are the core aspects of our attentional anatomy, geometry. To know them well is to know something profound about the core mechanics of how attention works and how it develops. In a hard jhana, it feels as if our mind has been fused to those qualities. The jhanas tend to be pleasurable, but do not indicate any acquisition of wisdom, do not lead directly to the insights and irreversible realizations. That happens in the insight practices. But these meditations are concentration practices where you're concentrating on an object. The first jhana in its fundamental aspect is about the application of effort, the beginnings of phenomena, and the center of attention. There's a lot of information that slips through the cracks without being perceived clearly. And the clear awareness of that causes the mind to eventually let go of the first jhana and move to the second. In the second jhana, less effort is required to keep the attention. Clarity is increased. It's a highly pleasurable state. Most of the jhanas are highly pleasurable states. The ability to discern subtle details with respect to the meditation object itself. But at a certain point, this pleasurable state eventually becomes annoying, and the rapture of the second jhana drops away, and the third jhana takes over, which is a more cool bodily bliss and an equanimity with more diffuse attention, as if instead of now paying attention to the whole of the donut, we're paying attention to the periphery of the donut. So our attention is very dull in the center, but at the periphery, it's higher clarity. But then eventually we move into the fourth jhana, where everything coalesces. The center of attention is combined with the ability to perceive the periphery. And it's very volumetric and spacious, the height of equanimity. Now that's the end of the formed jhanas. The next four are formless jhanas, which use that fourth jhana state as the foundation. But then in the fifth jhana, we pay less attention to the object or occurrences in the meditation space and more to just the space itself, boundless space. And the sixth jhana is called boundless consciousness, where we ask, if we ask what is observing this boundless consciousness, then, the sixth jhana is very pleasurable and tempting. And then, but if we eventually ask the question, what is observing this boundless consciousness, the mind will let go of the sixth jhana and move to the seventh, where it's called boundless nothingness, which is like space, like a boundless space, but with out of tune. We're tuned out. So reality is there, but tuned out. Consciousness and space are basically gone, but there is still awareness of the state. So there can be awareness that is neither the consciousness nor the space. Then, in the seventh jhana, the only quality is really the awareness. But then in the eighth jhana, we move to a state called neither perception nor non-perception. And that state is not possible to investigate because it is incomprehensible. And I would argue because it is basically into the next octave. Okay, we've moved all the way around the circle or spiral, and we've moved back to 0 degrees, but we're at a higher level, and that higher level is incomprehensible to us at this point. So that's how, very briefly, how the 8 jhanas work that are really come from the Buddhist teachings toward meditation, concentration meditation. There's a different set of stages that occur when we're talking about insight meditation practices, where you're paying attention to what's going on right now with all the sensations of your body and mind, as opposed to paying attention to a specific object like your breathing or your nose, or a kasana, like a shape or a ball or a light or something, candle flame. Okay, now that is that's the end of the 8th fractal of the zero sphere, number 142, the mystery of 8. Thank you for sticking around to the end of the video, and you can click the like button if you so choose, share and subscribe to the video or to the channel, and you can also click the link in the description to get the guide to the 144 fractal faculties, and you can also donate directly to me through Cash App or Venmo, listed also in the description. Also, you can come back tomorrow to see the next video in this series, where we will go through another of the 144 fractal faculties. And in the meantime, have a beautiful day.